Protect your car with 3W Liners all-weather floor mats. Made from durable materials like TPE and rubber, our mats are designed to withstand rain, snow, and mud with deep grooves to trap dirt and liquids. For a custom fit and advanced protection, visit 3W Liners. That's the number 3, WLINERS.com today.
Farmhounds offers natural treats and chews made with quality products that support family farms, regenerative agriculture, and humane farming practices. Give your dog the best with wholesome, organic ingredients that promote health and happiness. Shop now at farmhounds.com.
This is a Rogue Media Network podcast. This is Central Texas Life with Ann Harder.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Central Texas Life. We've got a little new digs here from what our normal show is, but this is kind of fun. And a brand new friend, Ty Delley, I've just met, but we have a mutual acquaintance, and that's Vince Erickson, who put us in touch with each other. And Vince said, here's someone you need to interview on the podcast. And reading a little bit about Unbridled Equine Program, I have to agree. So let's talk about what Unbridled Equine is. And you're located in Moddy, correct?
We are, yeah. We have a ranch just outside of Moddy that we do all of the therapy at. So it's my husband and I. It's our ranch, and then we just also do all the program out there. At the
Okay,
ranch.
so I know you kind of gear it toward what I loved seeing about this is veterans and first responders, and then young people.
Yeah,
and I guess really anybody.
Yeah,
could, but
yeah, we our mission statement is individuals who've experienced life conflicts or trauma. I think that might encompass most of us.
Yeah,
most of us
really.
Those are our target groups. Really, are the veterans, first responders, and at-risk youth. And we've specifically talked about at-risk because underserved has a tendency to be kind of the new framework for our youth. But the truth is, a lot of the kids that come through our program aren't necessarily underserved, but they are at risk. Yeah. And so that's the group that we've chosen to work with. But we're also working with some women that are in an inpatient addiction recovery treatment center.
Excellent.
So we've got some different populations we're working with as well that are also can use what we're doing. But those are our three main ones.
Well, I saw some great testimonials on your website, or maybe it's a Facebook page. I saw this. Yeah. Here's one. It helped me gain an understanding of my story, and that's from a veteran. Yeah. And a 16-year-old young man said, this program really helped me come out of my shell. Yeah. Let's see, a first responder. I have a better understanding of how I process things daily. And then an adult female says, it helped me reconnect with strengths I forgot I had. And so, I mean, it's really amazing what getting on a horse will do for you. And I love horses. Yeah. So let's talk about that. Why horses?
Yeah. So the horses are fascinating, and I think that one of the reasons that I love horses. I've wanted horses when I was a little girl for a long time, and I didn't get to have a horse until I was very much grown up.
Can I have a pony, please?
Can I have a pony, please? I did not get to get a pony, but I had sheep instead, which we won't go into that story. I won't embarrass my parents like that. So anyway, so I finally had horses. We moved to this place, this ranch in Moddy, and wanted to offer our arena that we have, which is covered, for an equine therapy program. And we had an event that my husband and I and some friends put on for veterans. We were appreciating veterans and first responders a year ago in November. And everyone kept going, oh, I heard you're starting a nonprofit. And I'm like, no, we're not. And then I got asked again. I said, oh, no, we're not doing that. And the third time I got asked, I said, okay,
maybe
we are doing this. So I think because I know what I know about horses and what is really interesting, and I've learned so much more about over the last year and a half, is just they're obviously very reflective of our emotions. So they're flight animals. So if something's getting ready to go wrong, their first reaction is to get the heck out of there. Yeah. And so what what happens when people are around them that are very anxious or have a lot of
Kind of
things
skittish
going on,
themselves.
the horses are like,
Yeah.
something's getting ready to go wrong. So they're very reflective of our person, like of how we're feeling. So they provide that mirror, and horses don't lie. So I think that that's the other thing, is that a lot of people that go to maybe traditional talk therapy, they're always like, but what is that person thinking of me? What is this? And so there's all this like history and kind of things that start to cloud the actual ability to process information that horses kind of break through. It also is just a diversion, right? So you can process information differently when you're focused on something else than if somebody's just asking you questions. So they get to kind of experientially. So you mentioned riding horses, and interestingly, our program is not a riding program. So we experientially are doing activities with the horses, but it's not actually riding.
So they're not ever on them?
They're never on the horses
Really?
in our program.
My impression of
course.
what an equine therapy program is
Exactly.
they're
Yeah, exactly. So
getting
that's
sore the next day.
yeah, right. So that's therapeutic riding, and there's a lot of great programs
Okay.
that do that. A lot of times it can be used for kind of emotional things too, but that's a lot for like hippotherapy. So when people have maybe physical disabilities or things like that, the motion and the movement of the horses
Really?
is
Okay.
very therapeutic. For us, it is being able to see themselves with the way the horses are responding, and then also with some of the activities that we do. I can give you an example of that to make it make
please,
sense.
yeah.
Okay, because I think that's really helpful. So we have 4 sessions in our program. And the first one, we talk about strengths. And so the first thing that when people walk in, instead of us saying, okay, we're going to talk about what's wrong with you, we say, we're going to talk about what's right with you. And it kind of changes everyone's whole perspective that first day. So the second session, we talk about their brain and how their brain functions in fight, flight, or freeze. So I have a team that works with me. So another gal and I do all the classroom facilitation, which is about half the time each session. And then the other half is with the mental health professional and the equine specialist with the horses. So they have the best job. We have the classroom job, but that's okay. They have to get the classroom job so they can go down and do the horse time. So one of the things we do in the third session is we talk about our values. And what value system do we have, and how does that maybe affect the things, the people, and the activities that we do in our lives? And so they, through a series of questions and different kind of activities, they come up with their core values. So they write those core values on a big giant sticky note. And then we take them down to the arena, and we put that sticky note on a bucket of food. Well, the food, the horses know what's in that bucket. Let's just put it that way.
All right.
So
Yeah.
they have to protect their values, and then we write threats to their value system. So they have to identify as a group, okay, what are things that threaten your value system? Maybe it's peer pressure. Maybe it's social norms. Maybe it's what I think I ought to be doing.
Yeah.
And so we write those on the horses, and we stick those threats on their horses. So then they have to go and protect their values, and we turn the horses loose. So what do you think the horses are doing?
Well, they're
Heading
the
straight for
bucket.
that bucket of feed,
Yeah.
which is their values. And so really, it's very interesting to watch people navigate that activity.
Yeah.
So some people are very protective of their values. Some people basically just kind of freak out and kind of run away from that bucket because the horses are coming in. So the therapist's job and the equine specialist's job after those activities is to sit down and really process with them and say, how does that look like your real life? What happens when your values are threatened? And so it's just, like I said, it's a very experiential way for them to start to think through, again, their strengths, how their brain functions, and that fight, flight, or freeze, their values. And then we ultimately go through this passion and impact as well. So what are you passionate about? Mm-hmm. Now, when I say passion, we've had some people come in and go, I'm passionate about food. These are kids, of course. I'm passionate about food.
Yeah, video
okay,
games,
we're not,
whatever.
yeah, exactly. We're not talking about that kind of passion. We're talking about the kind of passion that you have that makes you suffer or endure for other things. So it could be that you give up financially because you're so passionate about running a horse rescue, or you're so passionate about being a professional sports player that you're going to suffer by having to be at the gym at, 3 hours in the morning and 3 hours at night, or whatever that looks like, while all your friends are hanging out doing other fun things. So we talk about what are you passionate about, and then who can you impact with that passion. And when we get to that part, ultimately what we're getting them to is a point where they can write a declaration of purpose. So I get these looks when I go into like the PDs and the fires and, and the veteran groups, and they go, declaration of purpose. It's kind of okay, that sounds like kind of like a funny thing to be doing. But the reason that we do the declaration of purpose is because everybody is in that program because they have experienced some type of trauma or things that are causing them to maybe experience PTSD, depression, anxiety. And when you're depressed and you're anxious, you start to become hopeless. Yeah. And then that spirals into more depression and anxiety.
And you start to self-medicate.
Yes.
That just causes more problems.
And that loop continues to happen. So with this purpose, what we're saying is, if you understand how you're wired, your value system, and what you're passionate about, and who you can impact, that's an important part. You can't just impact yourself with a purpose. You have to impact other people. So when you have that, you can't camp out in hopelessness anymore, because you know that you uniquely have something that you are wired to do. And who you can impact with that. And that's why we write the Declaration of Purpose.
Yeah. Woo. Well, so what kind of drew you to this? I mean, is this your background training, education?
Not at all. No. In fact, I've always said, as we've kind of gone through this, I'm like, this is my Moses journey. I'm not equipped to do this.
That's
yeah.
right.
So I think, yes, I can barely take care of my own horses some days. So it's not that I have this big history in horses. I'm not a mental health professional. What my background was in, though, I worked at Gallup for 20 years. And so Gallup came up with the Clifton Strengths Assessment many, many years ago. That was a research project they started
Gallup as in?
The polling company.
The polling company. That's what I thought you were
yes,
saying. Yeah,
correct. But they also have a huge, they're focused on behavioral economics. And so they do a lot of management consulting. StrengthsFinder was one of those things that came out, which is now called the Clifton Strengths Assessment. And it was Don Clifton back in the 50s when everybody was talking about what's wrong with people and trying to figure out, from a psychology perspective, what's wrong. He said, why don't we talk about what's right with people? And so he started studying these characteristics that high performers had, and then started realizing there's these unique talents that, there's really 34 of them that they identified. And so over 75 years of research, 34.5 million people have taken this assessment. And it's very common language that the strengths are, and so people get to come through our program and take the strengths assessment, and then that's how we kind of give them, that's their operating system. That's how you see the world, and that's how you get things done, and it's unique to you.
Unique to the
So
individual.
that is what my history's in. I was at Gallup for 20 years. I've done strengths coaching and consulting post that, but then at some point in a different post-Gallup path, I started talking about purpose and how we raise our kids with purpose, and I was speaking to different women's groups. And I thought, well, if we're going to talk about raising our kids with purpose, I better be able to define purpose. And so that's when the kind of formula of strengths and values and passion and impact came. And so I proposed that to this group of mental health professionals and psychologists that we're working with, that we developed this program. I said, how do you feel about maybe that being our foundation? Is that kind of path to purpose? And they agreed that we should try it.
Yeah. So, but these are your horses.
They are, yes.
How many do you have in this program?
We have three key horses that we use. Yes, Pearl, Big Red, and Ariel are our three key horses, and everybody loves them for one reason or another. They all have very different personalities.
I was going to say,
different
horses
strengths.
have personalities too.
They do. Yeah. So, and then we weave some other horses in based on the size of the group and stuff. We'll do some different things.
It all began with a simple idea, cutting handles off old ski sticks to create better pull-up bars. This sparked the creation of the revolutionary Engels 90 handles. After testing over 70 prototypes with 300 athletes, our patented handles were launched in 2018. We continue to push the boundaries of strength training. Join us in making your training more natural and effective. Visit Engels90.com to learn more and revolutionize your workout.
At 25 Home, our ultimate goal is to provide you with a transformative experience, making each day feel like it has an extra hour. We believe your home is more than just a space, it's a sanctuary where comfort, relaxation, and happiness thrive. Discover the difference at 25 Home today. Shop now at 25home.com.
So how many in a session do you normally have? And is it like just first responders, or is it a little bit of everybody? And
Yeah, our very initial group was a pilot that we did with kind of an older group of youth, and we had first responders and veterans in there too, just to we wanted to try it out with everybody. But now we will combine a veteran and first responder group. The youth is totally separate.
yeah.
And then if we do anybody outside of that, like the women that I was talking about, that would be a whole different group. But generally, if we have between 6 and 8, that's ideal. It's small enough
It's very
that
small, yeah.
everybody gets kind of an individualized experience, but it's not so small that there's a lot of value in the group aspect of things too.
So how do people get referred to this? Do you take insurance? And I mean, how is this all?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm working very hard to get out into the community to talk to different groups, but I'm partnering with lots of different, Heart of Texas Behavioral Health Network, Veterans One Stop, the PDs, the fire departments. I mean, there's a lot of just connections and we're really focusing on everyone from that Fort Cavazos space, active military, east to Chilton Marlin, and then west to like Salado. So we've got a big group in there. So I'm just meeting with lots of people, talking about that. But really, there's not a criteria like you have to score X on this assessment in order to qualify. If you feel like you should be going through this program, we're going to figure out how to get you through the program. So some individuals are coming funded, like for instance, through maybe the PDs or the fire departments.
Yeah, we were talking about the West explosion and kind of going through that whole trauma of the ones who survived, and just our first responders every day are facing things, and who takes care of them?
Right. Yeah, and some of the people, even when we talk about first responders, we're not necessarily always thinking about dispatch, the people that are taking that initial call. So there's a lot of people that qualify even in the first responder world. I mean, we always think about our police officers and firefighters, but there's a lot of people that kind of fit that bill too. But yeah, so some people are coming funded, some people, it's a paid program, but we're not going to turn anyone away. So we'll figure out how to scholarship people and make sure we have that funding, which gets to, of course, we need those donors out there,
so I was going to
corporate or otherwise.
Yes, right. So you mentioned, you are a nonprofit and you do function on donations, and so that's great. How can folks get more information from you? I know you have a Facebook page.
Yes, our website really has the most information about program outcomes, like you had seen some of the testimonials, just the program. I just posted our March programs up there so people can come that way. So the website is unbridledtx.org. So that's the best place. That's for donating, that's for program information, or just to contact us to learn more.
So now, is this unique, what you've created, or is this part of like a bigger network?
This is wholly uniquely our own creation.
Okay,
it is. Now, that being said, our goal is to get this to the point where we can create something that can be replicated in other places, right? Like this is... I do feel like we have something that we've done that is very unique, and the approach to this is very unique compared to maybe other places that are doing, of course, like the riding therapies. It's very unique to that from that, but also even some of the mental health places that do equine therapy, which is interesting. I just was at a meeting the other day, and I ran into Pecan Creek, and they are out of Salado, and they totally focus on the mental health aspect of equine therapy as well. Okay, and good. Some would think, oh gosh, you've got competition just 30 minutes away. But we had a fantastic conversation about that partnership because they do a lot of more individual stuff and we do a lot more group.
Yeah.
And we're focused on a whole different aspect than what they are. So it's really cool to be able to just partner with people that are doing similar things, but we have opportunities to share that.
Well, there's such a need.
Yes.
I mean, particularly young people, and thinking about the stresses and the challenges that they face.
Yeah. And they're not very good at sitting down and just having conversations or talking. So I think this provides them a modality of therapy, if you will, that gets them moving and it gets them doing things and thinking. Interestingly, our bodies are where our trauma is stored. Mm-hmm. And so talking about it may work for some people, but that actual movement of our bodies in processing that trauma is really valuable for a lot of people to be able to not just sit and talk.
Yeah. So how long have you been doing this?
We incorporated as a nonprofit shortly after that conversation where my husband said, you're supposed to be doing this, right? And I'm like, oh, yeah, we are. So we incorporated January of 24.
Okay.
And then we officially have our 501c3 designation as of January 6th this year. So we are rolling, and we've got program outcomes, which I think is also such a big deal.
I want to hear about that.
Yeah. So I, because of my history in at Gallup and with data, I was like, we are not having one single solitary program until we can show pre-post program data. Mm-hmm. So everybody comes in and takes a pre-survey, and then they take a post-survey. And the statistics have just been, we don't have a huge sample size yet, but it's growing. And those have been really phenomenal. I mean, being able to say, a 70% increase, and I'm confident in who I am.
Wow.
I can use my strengths to regulate my emotions. I want to say that one's a 35% increase. I don't have those numbers in front of me right now, but everything is in double-digit increases, which is amazing, and we're super thankful that we've created something that we will continue to grow and refine. But so far, we've been really pleased with the results.
Well, this is talking to you kind of fulfills my mission statement for this podcast, and it's to find people who see a need, see a problem, and say, yes, I'll do something. And then it begins to grow and grow. And I predict this will become bigger than anything you can imagine.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I do hope so. And for that very reason, that we offer something that's, again, very unique, that people can take advantage of and be the very best version of themselves.
Right.
And have a purpose. I think that we all, truly, if we don't have something that we think that we're here for, that changes the trajectory of how we see ourselves. Yeah. And so when you walk around and you go, I have something that I'm uniquely gifted to be able to do, I just think that changes everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's great. Anything else we haven't covered that you want to talk about regarding your
I don't think
program?
so. Other than just please come check us out on our website.
Yeah.
And whether you want to get involved with volunteering or you want to become one of our corporate sponsors or just an individual donor, I'd love to have that conversation. I want people to feel like that what they're doing is real, and I will answer any question about anything that we do, just because that transparency and that authenticity is a big thing for me.
Oh, it's important. It's important. Well, I like to end these conversations with a little questionnaire. This is similar to the one the late, great James Lipton would use on Inside the Actor Studio. And the first question is, what is your favorite word, Ty?
I thankfully had listened to enough of your podcast. I knew that this could be coming. No, I gave it a little bit of thought, but I do want this to be, I think partly because of what we're doing, it's hope.
Yeah.
I love that word. And if I could add a second one, it'd be resiliency. I mean, I think that's another thing that when we think about the populations we're working with, and I'm so focused on that right now, hope and resiliency are just two things that make that helps people keep going.
Yeah. And you get to see that. Get to see that. Then what is your least favorite word?
I wish I could. Yeah, I'm terrible at these. I'm a phrase person, but I can't.
Yeah.
Can't.
I've heard that a lot. too over the years. What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
So part of Unbridled was creating this kind of declaration of purpose and this path to purpose, right? So I had to write my own.
I was going to say, you
I
had to do it
I
too.
had to do it too. I felt like it was really unfair not to expect other people to do it, not have done it myself. I think my purpose is to help people find theirs. And so I get very inspired when I see people come from a place of being in a dark space and moving into that space. So I think that is what charges me, is the ability to watch people move from having no hope to having hope through through finding their purpose.
Yeah.
Did I answer the question?
I think
Okay.
you did.
Okay.
So now I'll ask you, what turns you off creatively or spiritually or emotionally?
I think when people surround themselves with people who are almost thriving on people being in a dark space. And
Really? There are people like that?
I think there's a lot of people like that. And I don't even, and when I say dark, I mean just like they're helping perpetuate the camping out in that dark place, and it's like reminding them of maybe what's wrong with them, or reminding them of how the world is so unfair, and they have a right to stay in that space. It's like that's not helping anyone. So I very much am like, that is a lie.
Yeah.
That is a lie.
Absolutely,
you do not have to stay in that space, and let's talk about why you shouldn't.
Yeah. Okay. What is your favorite sound?
It just sounds so. I know this is. We live out in the country, and I do love the sound of the birds, and I know that's a very popular one, but I think there is nothing quite as sweet as walking out to the barn and having the horses do that little low neigh. That's a pretty special sound.
Low neigh.
Yeah, it's not the high pitched whinnying.
Yeah.
It's the they're coming to feed us, and this is a
That's
good
right.
time
Okay,
of day.
this is good.
Yeah, this is good.
She's coming.
Yeah, and I won't make that sound because I would really botch it.
Okay,
So
well,
just
I'll
look
have
that
to-
one up. Look
I'll
up the low neigh.
Low neigh. A low neigh. What sound do you hate?
Oh, what sound do I hate? That's a tough one. I even think I remember that I knew that one was coming, and I did not spend any time thinking about that one. I think it's just like that again. People being in that grumbly. So it's the sound of just defeat in a perpetual way. I mean, we all have those moments, but yeah, I think people just being in this like grumbling.
Yeah.
Complaining.
Grumbling, complaining.
There you
Yeah,
go.
no, that's
it.
That's very. So, what profession would you like to have tried, or maybe to try someday?
Wow. I don't know if this is even a fair answer, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think that my whole career, from the time I was literally 19 years old when I started working at Gallup way back in college, and the things that I've had the opportunity to do over the last 20, 30 years have put me so uniquely positioned in this space that if I look at all of the pieces of my personality and my strengths, because of course I know what those are in terms of like through the Clifton Strengths Assessment and otherwise, but being able to take all of those and combine them into this role that I get to maximize and use all of those daily, like that, I really feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be, and I'm really where I want to be. So I don't know if there's another career that I'm like,
Okay.
I wish I would have been able to.
That's fine. That's great. That's
Yeah.
great. But what job do you know you would not want to do? No thanks.
Oh, well, I think that as much as I love our youth, I'm not a daycare provider. I can't
Okay.
do that job.
Hey, I'm right there with you.
I can't do that job. I love my own kids.
I know.
most
I loved
days.
them when they were little, but
Yeah,
I don't want
most
anybody
days.
else's.
I really am not like, that's why, like at church, I keep saying like, oh, we need help in the nursery. I'm like, I'll do anything. Just
Anything
don't
but
put
that.
me in the nursery.
Okay.
That's so horrible. I do love children. Just don't want to teach. I'm going to be responsible for them.
I know. All right. One last question. What do you want to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Oh goodness. I would hope that he would say, well done, good and faithful servant. And I think because, again, I'm doing this study right now, and it's talking about what we have to give up in order to do what we are called to do. And there are a lot of things that that you give up when you do what you're called to do. And I think that to be able to say, I made that choice because I know that I was called to do this, I would hope that would be acknowledged, that it's like you made those sacrifices I asked you to make, and so you could do what I asked you to do.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's great. It's been wonderful to get to hear from you, Ty, and what you're doing with the Unbridled Equine Program. And again, how can folks learn more information?
They can go to Unbridled, UNBRIDLED, and lots of information there.
Yeah. Well, all the best to you. Blessings on what you're doing. I know it is a great work.
Thank you. And thank you for having me today. It's been an honor.
I'm honored to get to
pleasure.
meet you and get to know you. And thank you for being with us. And we'll see you next time on Central Texas Life. Bye-bye.
Central Texas Life with Ann Harder is part of the Rogue Media family. Be sure to check out our other shows at roguemedianetwork.com. Please rate this show 5 stars on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you get your podcasts. Join us again soon for more Central Texas Life with Ann Harder. This has been a Rogue Media Network production.